Hey, Chief here, and I have another thought. So today, I was just thinking about symbolism and how it's working in our society, um, and especially in terms of, I think, more celebrity symbols. That's more I'm focusing on, not necessarily like all the certain symbols that I think are alluding to other things. Especially companies and people are associating themselves with a lot of symbols that have a lot of energy, for lack of a better term, attached to them or associated with them. Um, but in terms of celebrities, how they're being symbolized is, especially when they pass away, um, there is a death cult around their personality that creates them as a symbol. And you can use their figure and their fame to propagate this figure because their art or whatever they are into, mostly art, has had an effect on a mass amount of people, and that people have some sort of idea who that person is. So when you wear that person's symbol on your shirt, or when you wear that band name, or that artist, like everyone's on every shirt now, every cartoon, things of that nature, like it's associating you with that symbol, and what that symbol how that symbol does relate to the greater society. So but it is trying to actually simplify those symbols and those figures, so people actually just wear the symbol instead of actually behaving as that person may have advised, not necessarily like in their own behavior, but in their art, or in who they are. This also happens with political figures, especially like with someone, or actually the association too, and they associate with the symbol just to get part of the energy that the artist lets off. Like if like people will feel like you're cool, or some of these simple minded things that may not be necessarily true. People may think that you're like a super intelligent, or you're deep or thoughtful because you're wearing something on your shirt. And I'm not saying, like, I used to wear band shirts all the time, and punk is my shit, band punk and metal shirts. And also, like, I've had Malcolm on my shirts and stuff, like Malcolm X too. That's one big person who they're trying to make a symbol, but they really can't push him as hard, because once people start investigating what he said, and start listening to his speeches and things of that nature, they can't really propagate him to the masses, even though they're trying to make him like a black symbol that, if you wear him, that means you're automatically enacting the things that he said, instead of actually enacting the things that they would speak about, or that they would talk about. You kind of reduce these figures to these to their symbol, and not necessarily how important they may have been. Like the artist, it is whatever with the rock bands and the music bands, but especially with figures like Malcolm, specifically, I think that the symbolism and people trying to use him as some sort of linchpin to some ultimate blackness. You're ultimately this figure who has the best interests of our community at heart, and you're like a martyr, and you're not for non-violence, and against a lot of the other narratives that are being thrown around with other political figures that have been told by typically the white society that we should laud, based upon a simple breakdown of their ideologies, like a one quote, a one quote taken out of context, cherry picked from a long ass essay or a long ass speech, that's supposed to be representative of that person, and supposed to be imbued or just forced upon this symbol, and that person or thing becomes just this one, just becomes a symbol. It doesn't become anything else. It doesn't become anything but a representation, which it's probably way too hard to actually enact what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, people aren't living by what they're claiming, in my estimation, even myself. But at the same time, like, I just think about that these people are symbols. And if Malcolm was here today, what would he think about himself being on a t-shirt when his community is in shambles? you know, and that's how I think, you know, like how do we turn these people from greater than symbols, and they become not influencers but influential into our actions, especially the positive ones, not necessarily the artists, because you know that's probably why people are in so much chaos, because the artists are chaotic people. You know, I know, you know, artists are chaotic. So like it's hard to, you know, take their symbols and extrapolate something like, you know, from it. You have to take the good with the bad, you know, and maybe they have to be cherry picked because of that chaotic nature. But you know, and it does influence our actions because, you know, you know, sometimes we behave like the rock stars, you know, for example, or like the hip hop stars, you know, who are these complicated people, you know, who can't be boxed in, but a symbol is exactly what they do is they box you in with it. But you know, that's probably all over the place. But I just want to let people know to beware of turning things into a symbol, and that's all it has to be. And like symbolic gestures as well, like protesting has become the illusion of action. It's like just because the body's moving, and you're engaging in this symbolic gesture, they believe that that is accomplishing things. Like awareness is like the most overrated thing I've ever heard of in my life. I just don't get it. Like if you're aware of something, like if you know better, you do better. It's like, no, most people know what the fuck not to do and have a basis of a moral compass, and then they just act against it. You know, it's just funny, you know, and that's just from personal experience, and that's me investigating myself and trying to put my best foot forward and not fall for symbols, and not you know, try to create any. But anyways, that was my thought of the day.